Hey everybody, this is Grace. In this video, I want to talk about something. I had asked Adam earlier today, just one of those, what would you do if kind of thing. And this one was, I thought about it this morning. I don't know what I was doing at the time. But it involves like, say, like I told him, say that you or work in a place like Cubeville. You know, he said, what's Cubeville? And I said, you know, you're working in cubes at work and all together. He said, you mean cubicles? Exactly, dude. He said, you're working in those and it's gotten too noisy. The boss decides to make everybody, you know, like a very little small offices with doors and walls and everything. And basically their desk would be, that's about it, is a desk in their little office. So, because it's too noisy, too many people are overhearing everybody else's conversation. Some people are just too loud. You know, things are changing. There are a lot more people who want to be, look at me, and they're loud. The histrionic kind of behavior, or narcissistic, histrionic, these kinds of behaviors. And you know, I think it'd be beneficial to many places of business. You know, 'cause how many of us have ever called someplace, you know, call center to ask some question, and you could hear everybody in the background, other people on the phone, and it was a garbled up mess. You could barely understand the person you're talking to, but you hear all the noise in the background, and you've been waiting on hold for however long. You know. I've been there, done that more than I care to, you know, more than once, more. Anyway, so that happens, and you're in a cube, and the person next to you, you've known, you've thought she was kind of sketchy, you know, she was kind of swifty. Something about her just kind of, you know, you think she's not all that great. I mean, that, you know, she's doing something. And your office is next to hers, and she doesn't realize she's one of those loud talkers. And she's at the end, and nobody on the other side of her, nobody else can hear her, like around the corner or something like that. But you can, and she doesn't realize it. And you hear, you know, over time you hear a lot of what she says, and you realize she's doing something that's, whatever it is, it's wrong. Whatever it is that she's doing, it shouldn't be, she shouldn't be doing it. It affects other people working there, or it affects the customers, or it affects whatever it is. It's not right. So what would you do? And Adam said, I'd go to HR. He said, I'd go and tell the boss. So what if you think the boss is just kind of along the same line, you know? And he said, go to HR. Yeah, my experiences with HR, they're only for the business. They're not there for you. And plus, if you make an accusation, and my experience is if they have to go and actually do some work. Anyway, but what I had written down that earlier today was, basically was, would you sabotage a colleague's or co-workers' corruption, if you know, or just whatever they're doing is wrong, if given the chance? Well, none of that, what I was thinking was not only actual in-person kind of thing, but also if it were online. You know, if it were online, like you and somebody in the same genre or whatever, they were doing was somehow wrong, somehow, and then they needed to be exposed. You know, I've been on this thing lately, this kick again. For the last 11 years, about once a year, I'll get on the kick because something like this will show up, will come up. 11 years, yeah. My original channel to make videos on will be 11 years old in August, so this year. So yeah, seen them ever since then. You know, people who are just, they're doing something sketchy, something. Yeah, and would you expose them? Would you sabotage? Would you expose? Would you tell somebody? What would you do? You know, and I've been talking a lot about reaction channels. grifters, e-beggars, charlatans, that have channels, these things. What would you do? Okay, interesting. I just now realized I could park closer to the house. Instead of showing the wall, I could actually show some of the sky. I had to drive back, back in the driveway closer to the road to do the other one. But by the way, I just turned 62 and my driver's license expired because I was between losing one of my fur babies and all the stuff that was going on with my health and all that. I didn't schedule my appointment to renew it fast early enough in Texas. This is all new to me. I've never 47 years of driving and I never experienced anything like this. You have to make an appointment to go in and renew your driver's license. You could always just, last time I did it, you just walk in and wait in line, get a number. No biggie. Needs to return to that. That's my opinion. But anyway, so I'm not driving because there's a $200 fine, plus it could lead to at least a $200 fine, and somewhere around there. Okay, I don't know if it's at least or what, but impossible jail time. I don't think so. Didn't drive with an expired license. Nope, not happening. Not something I want to do ever. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. But what would you do? Would you expose something? Now, I would. Not expose it. Not really expose it. What I do on my channels is I use them for a pressure release valve. And I don't believe in, for me, I'm not telling anybody else what to do. I never do. Never have, never will. For me, I don't believe in keeping things bottled up inside. And these kinds of things, amongst, other stuff in my life. This is not my whole life. But when people do stuff like e-beggars and they're scammers and the grifters, the con artists, the online, online or offline, and they're basically lying. Some of it could be considered committing fraud, which is illegal, and just to get money off of their audience so they don't have to do whatever. Hey, the sky suddenly cleared out of where did the clouds go? But you know what I'm saying. Okay. But would you say something? I don't call anybody on the carpet their name or their channel name or anything, even which, there are dudes that sometimes say, like, oh, it was on YouTube, but I call everything channels, YouTube or any of the social media platforms, I call them channels. Just use one word instead of having a list of all of them. Okay, now the clouds are back. Would somebody tell me how that happened? They were gone. At least what I'm seeing is kind of a little upside down almost. But anyway, what would you do? I'll talk to you on another video. Bye. Hey everybody, this is Grace. In this video, I'm going to talk about that. I don't even know if I'd call it an accent or what it would be called. I was telling Adam about it. He's older than I yesterday. And I said, what would you call it? A voice or an accent or, what? But it's the one that people use. I see it especially in medical. Doesn't matter what is their job. And that's where I hear it, especially in medical. Okay, but I hear it in other places, other people too. But I don't know. I think it's mainly medical. And it's kind of a prissy, I've heard it I've heard it evolve over decades here. It used to be more like Valley Girl. First I'd say Valley Girl, and for some of them it seems like they're trying, I'm talking here in the United States, they're trying to mimic what they personally think of as royalty, how royalty would speak. Okay, I made a joke saying, you know, like some people, you know, when it's not part of your culture. Okay, now let's say that when it's not part of the culture. But some people, I know people who, they drink tea. It was part of their culture of origin. And they do the thing with the pinky. When I was a kid, that was always a joke. It wasn't part of my culture, as it, you know, ever been, to raise that pinky like when you drink tea. We didn't drink hot tea. We drank cold tea. But we never did this thing. And if we did, we were picking fun at the, you know, at the whole thing. You know, it was pretentious. It was pompous. It was, they're trying to be something you're not. And it just wasn't what people did. As a child, you know, as a child, we would do this. And as we got older, it kind of stuck. It became part of the culture of Pecora. The norm to think that's, you know, somebody about trying to be somebody they're not. And this voice, that I cannot replicate it anymore. I can't. I think more that I talk about it, more that I hear people doing it, I am guilty of this. I can hear it sometimes hit me in my voice because, you know, like me and one of my sisters, we worked in medical, and very seldom, but every once in a while we ran across one another. We would be in an office. We worked for one doctor, more than one. We both, but in different fields, and we didn't both work. Both of us didn't work in the office, but we would run across one another. And we would start off with that voice because we would hear it all day. It started to become, you know, it was so, we would laugh about it. We thought it was hilarious. But once we, if we ran across one another at the same office, say we were the only two there, our accent would change back to what it was when we were growing up. What we heard when we were growing up was very different. It's a different part of Texas. And Texas has a lot of, in a way I would want to say dialects, okay, of, well, different ethnic groups too, you know, so, but saying my ethnic group, which I'm going to leave out on purpose, but seriously, you know, people make assumptions, so they might be right, they might be wrong. But anyway, but it's just a different accents to it, different terminology, even different buzzwords, different. You know, it would be thick, and you know, like where I grew up. Some of the things I've noticed is that some words were pronounced a certain way. We grew up hearing them pronounced a certain way. That wasn't. It was like, you know, our ancestors would have pronounced it, say, several generations before they came to this country, you know, this kind of thing. And it still sometimes comes through. But me and that sister, we laughed because when we were together in the offices, our voices would turn back to our norm as a child, you know, as children or growing up. And one of our sisters, she would say, y'all talk that highfalutin. I love that word. Look it up. It's pompous, pretentious, you know. Y'all talk that highfalutin talk. But yeah, I mean, it can happen. You know, I'm well aware of this. You know, you're around people, and it can happen to anybody. Some people it wouldn't happen to. It's just whatever. It's not. For me, it's definitely not planned. But some people, they do. And, you know, you whatever, you know, especially, you know, for me, especially when I was young, if I learned a new word, whatever, you know, accent the person, I'm just going to call it accent, the person had, you know, how they accented it, how they, you know, where do they put the accent? How do they overall pronounce it? Just pronounce it. That stayed with me. You know, I'm talking when I was growing up, you know, teenager, all the way through, say, early 20s. And some of the things, like I was a career student, some of the words I didn't never heard until then, and say the professor had a certain way to pronounce it. That's how I would first hear it pronounced. We didn't have to get online and push pronounce and it would pronounce it for you, you know. No, if a professor pronounces a certain word a certain way, that's the way it came into my brain. But lately, I've been irritated. Right now, I have a little bit of a sore throat, by the way, so this kind of scratchy, a little scratchy sounding. But when I was, you know, okay, where was I? I'm waiting on a phone call. Hopefully it'll come soon from the pharmacy. But anyway, I've noticed lately that some of these, even though I try, oh, there it is. Okay, it's much later in the day. And we ate, and then we went to, we had lunch, and then we went to Dollar Tree. And nothing really special going on there, except it took me a while, longer than I thought it would. But I couldn't find some of the things I want. I've been watching series lately. I never have been one to watch much TV until I'm talking more recent years, talking like maybe since 2020 or something. And, you know, with all the changes in how TV has gone over the years, I just turned 62. And over the years, you know, how TV has changed. I guess now is where I'm more comfortable because I can watch the whole series, you know, uninterrupted. I don't have to go back next week and see, or next several months and see what happened. You know, if the series is finished, I can watch all of it, and you know, however many seasons and all that. And I kind of like that. I never did like the whole thing of going, you know, making sure I was there next week to watch the next one. And then the what do they call them? The, oh, what is it, cliff or something at the, you know, the end of it, you know, the end of the season. Yeah, never was a fan of all that. But I've been watching series lately, and Dollar Tree had these things years ago. I started buying them. They were like they are little whiteboards, but the back of it is a, what would that be? A little, the top front of it is like a little design around the edge, and then there's a little whiteboard inside of it. It's $1.25 or then $1. And like if you want to make, you know, have it in your office or something. I don't know. I was using them also as dividers. Seriously, they're about the size of notebooks, a little bit bigger. Binders, I meant. We always called them notebooks when I was young. When I was young and a kid, not as an adult. But anyway, I write on those. I just started doing that, I guess, this year, in which I use the dry erase marker and write, you know, each season, episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, you know, like that, however many it has. And then when I finish watching, or when I get back to it, I'll erase which ones I've watched, so that way I can keep up with, because I tend to fall asleep while I'm watching them. Seriously, I have watched TV. There's a bed in that front room, and I'm watching TV, and the next thing I know, I'm asleep, which is fine. With all my health stuff going on, I'm much better, you know. But today I had to start a new medication, yet another medication, and we're going to see how that works. And although, you know, like I told the guy, the specialist, once more, I'm the person who believes in the old Southern expression, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. He said, well, the thing is, it's not fixed or something. And I'm thinking, idiot, it's not broken. Well, he just, oh, he's so pushy, you know, seriously. But anyway, so I've been watching those, and I went to see if I could find some of those at Dollar Tree. No, I guess they no longer sell them. Also, I have to keep a log. It's kind of a log of all my health things. Like I keep one of when I take which medications, even though it's on my phone on the alarm thing. I have them programmed because I take medications or supplements 7 times a day. 7. And twice I take insulin, 2 to 3 times. Sometimes it's 3. And like the third one would be early in the morning if it's still hot. But anyway, that's a lot. Yes, it is. So I keep it written down. That way I have, a double check on myself to make sure plus, it's in those little things. What do they call them? The plastic things. And, but still, it's good to have it written down because sometimes I'm out and about and I have to take a medication or something. Anyway, let's see what else. I'd already bought some new ones of those because I thought today would have been the day that I was in the hospital doing that procedure. And no, I told that specialist, I've seen more than one specialist. No, wasn't going to do that. Adam was with me. And I just told him, I'm not feeling it. But I'm not. I said more than that before then. No, because everything that was being said and spoken by him and by the one that was before him was it really didn't need to be, and not only those, but didn't really need to be done. But they kind of like to do it just to see if there's more that needs to be done. Well, that in itself, just the procedure, can be up to, I looked online, up to $35,000. Now, that would be charged to my insurance. But still, nah. My purpose in life is not to make them wealthy. Seriously. My purpose in life is to live it. Not to be there for them to make money off of it. I'm not an object holding an insurance card that has dangling dollar signs off of it. Dollar signs dangling off of it. I kind of said that twisted, didn't I? Anyway, what else? Oh yeah, I had been making videos about some nerve of some people. I have done this since, let's see, my original channel on YouTube that I made videos on, I should put it that way, will be 11 years in August. And at some point right after I started noticing copycats and grifters. The copycats really was one of them, but at the same token, I don't know why I keep saying that on video, like that person is a grifter or e-beggar or something like that. But there was some kind of hint. I don't know why my mind changed it, besides that they're copycats. And I started seeing those right away, and I also started seeing e-beggars. There was a woman, she had 2 kids, and she used her kids to, there was a lot of stuff, and she even, realized that I was talking about her. I never say their names or their channel names or anything like that. I'm just talking about the behaviors and how it makes, how they seem so, how it makes me feel. I use my channels for pressure release valves, to vent, sometimes rant, and what goes on in my life, because I am a firm believer in, for me, I'm not saying anybody else, but for me, what you do is your business. But me, I don't believe in keeping it bottled up inside. So hey, I make a video. A lot of them I keep on private, but some of them don't. When venting about stuff that I just see as wrong, and I just see that as wrong as people to do some kind of like fraud. If you look up, which one does it fall under? Grifters. If you look up that, if you get the same thing I did, the AI overview, it said fraud. It gave us some examples of each little thing. But at the bottom of it says fraud can come in many ways. Well, I see when people get online and they say things like, One of the first ones I saw was somebody saying that it was either her mother or her grandmother needed a furnace, or she'd freeze over the summer. And then we saw the same woman. She got all the money from her audience, and then she was doing things like getting her hair done or her nails done, or both, something like that. It was a long time ago, like 10 years, almost 11, somewhere way back then. But a lot of them over all these years, they show up like all the time. And I would do videos, just expressing my views about this kind of thing. Like a lot of them are so scripted. It's like the same thing. Your head just popped. But the same thing, just, they don't do the exact same things, but their version of it. And not all of them, but not all of the scripts, but you get the picture, right? And anyway, one of them recently, the woman, she put up there, I guess a few months ago, I don't know. There's more than one doing these kinds of things lately, and so many different ones over the years, like I said. Different ones. Some of them are still doing it. But she put up things about how she didn't have any money for groceries and blah, blah. And she never, as far as I've seen, I've watched everyone since then, she's never said that she has enough money for groceries. And that, for people to stop sending her money because, thank you. And I haven't heard her say thank you or anything like that. But I have noticed that she believes that her e-begging, is her job. So, and that I've seen before. I've seen that before too. And they see it as a full-time job, or they're just their job, to talk to the audience and get money from them. Well, they don't put it that way. They don't put it that e-begging is their job, but yeah, you can kind of figure it out. But anyway, I would think that's some kind of fraud if somebody says they don't have enough money for groceries and they never correct it and they're still getting money for that, and yet they do things like, and here's where I was going with this. I recently said the wrong amount, but this person, I did the math. I just got curious. It wasn't even about the person. I just got curious. How much would that salad, something like that salad, side salad even, take to make? What would be the cost? And I figured it out. Took down the ingredients, looked them up. Well, I didn't take them down. I just looked them up. And each one I saw, looked it up, and give or take, the differences, and were also differences in marketplaces and stuff like that, the cost and all. But the best I could figure out, it was, and I'd said this wrong recently. Recently I said $20-something, but no, I had I had written this on an index card, and I had left it in my SUV because I make videos usually in my SUV, and I just left it there. But that side salad now for 2 people, side salad. You got that right? It's not the meal. It could be used as a meal, but I doubt it. I doubt that's what it was used for. Was a whole meal. The portion was not all that big, and I don't think that the person, I'm just being judgmental on that. But usually, a lot of people don't eat side salads as the whole meal. I do, so I can't really say that. You see what I'm saying? But I don't. I'm not going to say what kind of salad it was. But I don't make those kinds. So, that kind, I don't make that kind, so that's one of the reasons I was curious. And the actual price, around, like I said, give or take, $42.14 for 2 people to make a side salad. And then the rest of the meal, add another $20, so $60-something for 2 people. That are, one of them is claiming not to have money for groceries, or had claimed and never corrected it. So, and actually said it again, over 2 or 3 months. I don't know. at least twice, if not more times. Okay, at least twice that I know of. After that, I watched more. And, like I said, I'm not seeing it corrected. But, yeah, I could go on from there. So I just wanted to correct that. And I also, one day, I was saying it was Monday and it was Sunday recently. You know how that happens. Me and Adam both did that on Wednesday. Well, I was saying, I keep thinking it's Thursday. It was the week was kind of messed up for us by something unusual. And so we both, got confused. He said, I was thinking, later on, he said, now I'm thinking that it's Thursday. But, that happens to people. That's nothing unusual. It happens to people. But anyway, I wanted to correct those. Don't need to, but hey, why not? Okay, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I have a couple, speaking of index cards, I brought one out. That's why I remembered, because I have a couple of notes to myself on what I want to do, make some videos. I have more than one channel. After 11 years, I have more than one channel. I have a few, if you call it a few. Some of them got started, I was trying to teach somebody how to make a new one, and went all the way through it, things like that. And anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. Talk to you on another video. Bye.